Hey everyone, my name is Trevin. I'm on the marketing team here at WebFX, and today we're going to talk about all the different types of SEO. But before we jump into that, let's take a few steps back and talk about what SEO is. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and at the end of the day, it's really all about visibility. It's about maximizing the visibility that your website has in search engines like Google. If somebody's searching for a keyword that's related to a product or service that you provide, you want your website to show up highly in Google for those results. There's many reasons why that's important. You end up getting more qualified traffic back to your website, which, if your website works, will ultimately result in more leads, more sales, more phone calls, and in general, more revenue for your business. So let's get started. I want to first look at the three core types of SEO. These are the foundational types that everything else is kind of built off of whenever we're thinking about SEO and all of the little nuances and micro specialties that are out there. Most of them can trace back to one of these three core elements. The first being on-page SEO. Traditionally, on-page SEO are things that you can see if you pull up a page and you're analyzing it from an SEO perspective. Oftentimes, these are things that you see if you're just a plain old visitor coming to check out the site too. So this would be things like title tags, meta descriptions, content on the page, keywords that are present or not present on the page, basically anything within that HTML that's being read by a browser and by search engine bots, making sure everything is good to go there. There's the right amount of content on the site. We're explaining things in ways that make sense to users, and everything is mapped out perfectly with a well-planned on-page SEO plan. The next bucket would be the strange and distant cousin of on-page SEO, and that would be off-page SEO. So off-page SEO naturally is everything that's happening outside of the pages on your website. And really what search engines are looking at for that is what's happening on other sites that are talking about your website, that are linking to your website, that are mentioning your website. Those are all really big signals of trust and of relevance. If one company has 1 million links and mentions about their website, Google's going to give them a boost compared to a site that maybe has 15 other websites mentioning them or talking about them online. So a key part of off-page SEO is you're thinking through maybe a digital PR strategy, coming up with a way to create content that will naturally earn links and discussion around the web, making sure that you've got a good plan for how things are going to go for you around the greater web, and tying that into what we're doing in these other core elements of SEO as well. And the third and oftentimes favorite element of SEO would be technical SEO. So this is where we get to bring in all of our developer friends and analyze the site from a code level, dig into the server setup, and really do an analysis of things like page speed, how fast is the site whenever people are loading it, are search engines able to access it, and taking a look at those server level elements and analyzing all of that, making sure that the site's indexable, that it's crawlable by search engines. This sounds like basic stuff, but whenever you have a large site or you're working in a technical e-commerce space, websites get very, very complex, and technical SEO is where we want to kind of simplify things, make sure performance is working really well across the board, and all of the things that we're doing from an on-page standpoint and from an off-page standpoint are able to kind of flow together with the technical side, and we're able to communicate and get full value from everything that we're doing across all elements of SEO. So the first business-specific type of SEO that I want to chat with you about is local SEO. So for all you folks out there that have a brick and mortar location or multiple brick and mortar locations, local SEO is absolutely crucial to driving people from their phones, from their computers, from their tablets into your physical location. So a big part of local SEO is making sure that all of your map listings are optimized on sites like Google Maps, Apple Maps, making sure that you've got correct information, up-to-date information. And really one of the key things is just having a wealth of information, making sure everything's filled out entirely. You're providing a lot of small details on there. Your business is accurately described. All that helps kind of raise your profile in map listings. You also want to make sure that you're performing well for localized searches as well. If you're a barber in Omaha, Nebraska, and somebody's searching for haircuts in Omaha, you want to make sure that you're showing up highly for all of those very specific specific local searches. There might not be very many of them in a given month, but for those local brick and mortar businesses, they're so valuable to have visibility for. So any good local SEO strategy is going to kind of take that holistic approach and make sure that you're showing up on devices, in map listings, and whenever people are searching in Google organic results. One of the other things that we want to look at from a business type standpoint is for e-commerce retailers. So obviously the big difference between e-commerce and lead gen or service related businesses that have websites is the payment element. Our job as marketers is to get people with their credit card in hand, ready to convert. And this payment element adds a whole lot of nuance to the SEO side. It pulls in a lot of elements from a technical standpoint, just being able to accept and process payment, making sure that the website's working well. But it also creates a challenge from an information architecture standpoint for SEOs. We want to make sure that your site, from a product level, from a category level, from a characteristic level, depending if you've got customized products, is set up in a way that's really user-friendly, that search engines are able to understand it. And there's just a lot of nuance and complexity that comes with e-commerce SEO, but it can be very rewarding for people because if your campaigns are running well, it's fun to see on like an hourly, a daily, a weekly level, those transaction numbers ticking up from your SEO campaigns in the e-commerce space. And the last business type that I wanted to talk about is enterprise. So these are always fun challenges for a good SEO expert to tackle when you've got an enterprise level site that's at 100,000 pages, maybe even 400,000 or 500,000 pages. SEO operates on a totally different level when you're looking at a site at that scale versus even a small local site can sometimes only have 5 pages and that's all they need. On the other side of the spectrum, enterprise brings a lot of technical challenges. And again, this is where we pull in our developer friends to kind of help make sure that the site's set up from a structural standpoint so we can make changes to specific buckets of pages, to groups of pages, and make sure that things are functioning really well from a visibility standpoint in search engines like Google. Enterprise SEO is always a big fun challenge and kind of pulls in all those core elements of technical SEO, off-page SEO, and on-page SEO. All right, so we've talked about the many different types of SEO, and now it's time to get all of those words and strategies and ideas into action. And that's where an agency like WebFX can come into play. So let's chat a little bit about what exactly an agency does whenever it comes to SEO. And the first part of that is really the foundation for everything, and it's coming up with a good strategy and a good plan for how to tackle and approach SEO challenges for your site. I've worked on many sites over the years, and I can honestly say everyone is totally different from how the site is built, from the business goals to the market that they're in. And that's where we really shine and kind of want to create a good foundation for success is, what are the types of keywords that we want to target? What foundational, structural, site level changes need made to help facilitate that? And then how do we put that plan into action? You can come up with a good plan, but you need that technical side. You need a way to execute your off-page SEO strategy and being able to kind of bring everything to life on the site. And the cool part about SEO is once all those initial changes are made, then we get to really dive into analyzing data to see, hey, maybe we got 80% of these right, but there's 20% of these keywords that aren't performing as we thought that they might, and we need to make adjustments and tweaks to the campaigns. There's no website out there that ever reaches its pinnacle in terms of website traffic. There's always more that you could go after. There's always a higher conversion rate that you can chase after. What I appreciate about the agency role in SEO is getting to kind of provide that end-to-end solution where we will get your foundation created, we will get your site off and running from a search standpoint, but years down the road, it looks a lot different in terms of fine-tuning those strategies and making adjustments to continue climbing higher and higher in terms of traffic and revenue coming into your site. So being able to be that provider and kind of watch campaigns grow and mature over the years is really cool and something that I enjoy a lot here at WebFX. If you're intrigued by this video and you want to keep learning more about SEO and other digital marketing efforts, check us out on our website at webfx.com.